Hi, we are live on LinkedIn, we are live on Facebook, and we are live on YouTube. It's good to have you here. My name is Jasmine Ofori. I am the founder of Jew Digital, and I'm a social media specialist. So I'm here to support you to gain visibility and generate leads using, tailored social media promotions. If you need to reach me, my email is jasmine@jewdigital.co.uk. It's changed recently. And if you would like to schedule a call with me, it's calendly.com/Jew Digital. I'm here today with Professor G from Joyous Childbirth. Hello, Gurjit. How are you doing today?
Hi, Jasmine. I'm doing really good today.
Fantastic. Gurjit, would you like to introduce yourself and tell people who you are?
Yes, basically, I'm a registered nurse and I teach at the university students who are in the RN program. And my specialization is basically helping women during childbirth, during pregnancy, so they can prepare for and have a natural childbirth. Because many people desire to have a natural childbirth, but they don't know exactly what they should be doing. And the information out there at times can be pretty confusing. And that's where I come in. I have this amazing program. It's basically very different from the prenatal classes because it helps the woman to prepare in a holistic way, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. And she's so ready for birth. And not only is she ready for birth, she's prepared in such a way that she can expect and actually have a natural birth and avoid medical and surgical interventions.
Oh,
And
that's
I've traveled across the globe, so many countries, and so all the valuable experiences that I have is what I like to share with women and help them.
Oh, that's fantastic, Gurjit. So the purpose of today's live session is to talk about pregnancy and labor insights for expecting parents. So I'm just going to be, asking you a few questions, Gurjit, as we go along. But before I do that, let me just say a quick hello to the people who've joined us on the live. I see Selassie Ameno. Thank you for being here. I appreciate you, brother. I see Esume Moses. Thank you for joining us. And Platine Mwenya, thank you for joining us. Oh, and John Musunda, I believe, will be joining us too. Thank you all for being here. For the ones that are watching but haven't commented, we're glad you're here. So we hope this conversation is valuable to you. So, Gurjit, in terms of labor insights for expecting parents, can you talk us through the experience of labor? What does labor feel like? Can you sort of liken it to something that you know of? You've had a child anyway, so you can definitely explain it vividly. So what does it feel like to go through labor, Gurjit?
So, first of all, I'd like to mention that the experience can be different for different women. And a lot of it is there are unknown factors, there are factors related to preparation, and there are factors related to what people have heard and what they expect to have happen. So I'll just talk in general terms. Some women start experiencing contractions 10 to 15 days before the actual birth process starts. And those are called Braxton Hicks, and they can be so painful that women think that they're going into labor. And actually, because they don't know the other signs and symptoms that go along with it, they could, end up panicking and rushing to the hospital, even 10 to 15 days earlier. And on the other hand, there are women whose Braxton Hicks are practically painless. They don't even feel them at all. So it's not just it's actually for them. It's when labor starts that they start feeling the symptoms and they realize that they are in labor. So Braxton Hicks is not for all the women, but some women where it's there, it can be pretty intense. Um, of course, it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It's happening all the time, but some women feel it very painful and others don't feel it at all. So that's the first point. Now, coming to, The contractions, the purpose of the contractions is basically to get the baby out, right? So they start off in a small way, and in the beginning they're very irregular. Like you could have a contraction and then after an hour another one. And then if you're in true labor, because this is important, if you're actually in labor, which we call true labor, the contractions will start getting more and more regular, in the sense that if they are half an hour apart or an hour, they start getting like 20 minutes apart, and then 15 minutes apart, and then 10 minutes apart. So they're more and more frequent, and they start lasting longer and longer. So, for example, if they are just 10 seconds, they would become 15 and then 20 and then 30. So the time a contraction lasts increases. So that's how you know that these two things are happening and I must be in actual labor, true labor. Another thing that might happen, Jasmine, is the release of a mucus plug. And this we, in medical terms, we call it bloody show. So it's a mucousy plug that is released from the opening of the cervix along with some blood. And so the woman might experience this, sticky blood-like substance coming out of her body. And that is definitely an indication at this time that she is in true labor, because as the cervix opens, this mucousy plug is released. And then finally, there's one more thing. The contractions are felt both in the front and the back. So it's not just all in the front. You will be experiencing discomfort in the back too. And so, yes, all these things happening. And then you say, okay, let me just walk around and see what happens. So you walk around and the contractions get stronger and stronger. Then that's a sure sign that you're in labor. And of course, it is different for different women. Like this is a general statement. And sometimes, the labor process is important. For first time moms, it could be anywhere between 8 to 14 hours, right? It could last, right? And when I say the first stage, it's from the time the contractions start till the cervix is completely dilated. So that's the first stage, because you'll hear people talking about the stages of labor. So when you talk about the first stage, that too can be different. I've had women who, when it's their second, third baby, you can they're surprised that the first stage could be really short for some of the women. It could be even an hour. That is so surprising. And then they realize they're having contractions. They rush to the hospital, and believe it or not, within 5 or 10 minutes, the little one is out, right? So that there's no fixed time. It varies, and there are a lot of factors that contribute to how long a woman might be in labor, and what she might experience. So that's a little bit about understanding the contractions. Now they can feel very, very strong and painful, or they could just feel like pressure. That's how a contraction might feel like. Here again, the experience is different for different women. So there's no hard and fast rule that it has to feel like this, or if it's not this way, she's not in labor. So that's the answer to your question.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I was about to ask you actually, what does it feel like for a first-time mother and somebody who's already gone through the birthing process, but you've already hit the nail there. So I will move on to the next question, which is timing of the delivery. So some people ask, when will my baby be born? What are the signs that labor is imminent? You've touched upon it, and you said, the mucus plug, when you see that, then it's a sign that labor is happening. But have you got any more additional, signs that you'd like to discuss about,
Yes,
when labor
yes.
is imminent?
Yes, for some women, the water might break, and water can break
Yes.
at any stage in life. And when I say water breaking, it could be, it's actually, I'm referring to the water surrounding the little baby inside, the amniotic fluid, which is the term in medical terminology. It's the amniotic fluid or the water in the sac surrounding the little baby. And so this water might break at any point in time. It could be 24 hours before baby is born. It could be at the last minute. It could be when she is in labor. So there's no hard and fast rule as to when the water might break. And so that's one thing. But generally, after the water breaks, within 24 hours, the woman does give birth. And if she doesn't, then doctors are a little stressed because it could introduce infection because now the protection around the baby is no longer there. And so infection is a possibility. So if that happens and it's about like 18 hours is the normal time that people wait, they would start antibiotics just to prevent and make sure that no sort of infection occurs and the baby is safe. Now to the question, when will the baby be born? So many women want to know that, and no one can actually give you the true answer. Let me tell you a very interesting fact. Generally, babies, we say 40 weeks. So the first day of the last menstrual period is the day we start counting, and we count 40 weeks, 40 calendar weeks approximately, and we give a due date. Okay. Now, only 5% of babies actually stick to the due date. 95% are born either before the due date or after the due date. So we can't exactly say, oh, the doctors and nurses have given us this date, so that's when baby's coming. Not at all. So any time after 37 weeks, we consider it a term baby and we are quite happy. Doesn't matter if it's 37, 38, 38 and a half, 39, 39 and a half, 40. None of it matters if it's after 37 weeks. Now let's cross the 40 weeks. After 40 weeks, what happens? Baby could still, take a bit longer to come. And so 41 weeks, we're pretty much okay. But then the doctors are a little concerned because there are risks to a post-term baby. So we don't want the baby to be unduly taking a longer time because of the risks associated with a post-term baby. So in that case, what happens? They try to induce the labor and get the baby to come out faster. And induction can be with natural methods, and induction can be with drugs. So, in the hospital, of course, we always offer drugs. But if the woman wants to, she can try natural methods on her own before the induction time. So then that's one possibility if she wants to avoid drugs. And hopefully, if it works, then that's good. So that's to talk about when will the baby be born and when do we actually get concerned and what do we do if we are concerned.
Thank you so much for that, Gurjit. That's definitely insightful. And having gone through it, I understand exactly where you're coming from. I see that John Musonda is backstage, so I will bring him up before we move on to the next questions that I have for you. Is that okay, Gurjit?
Yes, of course.
All right, okay. Hi, John. Are you there?
Hi, Jasmine. I'm there,
Hi.
and I like the discussion that is there, where we are learning how to actually make sure the pregnancy is safe and for the expectant mothers. Well, it's a nice discussion indeed.
Yes, definitely it is. Have you got any questions or anything that you'd like to add to the conversation, Mr. Musunda?
Okay, thank you. So now the questions that I wanted to ask Prof is Professor, how do you get to know that the child will be safe from the time, maybe let's start from when the child is maybe, how can I put it, in during pregnancy, when when maybe the pregnancy is maybe 7 months old. How do you get to know that the delivery will be safe, and how
Ye-
can women get to protect themselves and have good health so that the child will be safe.
Yes. So I'm hearing two questions. One is how can the baby be safe? And the second one is how can the woman know that she's safe during birth? Am I right, or is it different question?
You are very, very right.
Okay. So let me answer one question at a time. How do you know
Okay.
that the baby is safe? Now, for that, the first thing we recommend is that the mother keep aware of, like, after the fourth, fifth month, there's a little, the movement inside. The baby starts moving around, and it starts kicking around. So when it starts kicking around, the mother feels it. And later on, of course, the dad and the family members and everybody can feel it. So, in that case, it's important for the mother to note if her baby is moving or not. If she notices that it's been a day and the baby isn't really moving that much, then we recommend that she does the kick count. Kick, kick. So, kick is how many times the baby kicks inside. So she literally looks at the clock for 2 hours, places one hand on her tummy, and she notices how many times the baby kicks. So we are looking at 6 kicks in 2 hours. So suppose the baby kicks for 6 times in 1 hour, very good. That means baby is doing well. And so she doesn't need to go on for 2 hours. And we say the kick count is healthy, the kick count is good. So she knows the baby is safe. But if she put her hand there for 2 hours and maybe the baby moved only once, or maybe the baby moved twice, then she knows that the baby needs to be checked out. So then she should go to the doctor and get them to check the baby's heart rate. And maybe they might check the heart rate. If they need to, they might do an ultrasound and check and make sure that baby's doing well. So this is an important responsibility for the mom to know that her baby is safe. And this is what we recommend, doing the kick count and taking action if the kick count is abnormal. So that's one answer. Now, if we go to the mother side, like the mother is safe, the mother usually will be going for doctor's visits, right? And during those doctor's visits, the doctor will be checking a few basic things like her blood pressure, weight, urine, etc. And they might order an ultrasound just to make sure that, baby's good and mom is also doing good. Now, suppose the doctor notices something abnormal, the doctor will do more tests. And suppose when they check at 24 weeks, the mother's blood sugar is high, then they will put her on the diabetes protocol. And it's a sort of diabetes that only occurs during pregnancy. So we call it gestational diabetes. And so then the doctor will put her on a special diet control. And if that doesn't work, then maybe insulin. So that's the safety, one of the safety aspects. If her blood pressure starts going high during pregnancy, then of course the doctors will recognize that and they will put her on blood pressure medications. And if it doesn't help, then she might even end up in the hospital. And of course, suppose, she goes into labor early, could be before the 37 weeks, then it's time for the doctors to make sure that she's hospitalized. So if they can keep the baby in as long as possible, that's what they will try for. And so if worst comes to the worst and labor just happens even though the baby is not ready, let me tell you one thing. Even if the baby is like 20 across the 24 weeks mark, so babies say 25 weeks old in during the pregnancy, we can still save these babies if we have good facilities. But of course, it's not good to have the baby out. But in cases where the mom's blood pressure is very high, in cases where she goes into labor before time, then we might have end up having to do that. Or in cases where there's abnormal bleeding, which doesn't stop, then we might have to get the baby out earlier than usual. And that's all for the safety of the mom. So these are few examples of how we look after the baby's safety during pregnancy.
Hello, John. Has that answered your question? Have you got any more questions to ask?
Yeah, yes, yes, it has been answered. You that was very clear. I also have another one. Am I allowed
Go
to
on.
go ahead?
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, okay. Now, Professor, this one, yes. Um, does stress has any effect on how the child may, on the health of the child? Like maybe if the mother is stressed during pregnancy, or she's going through difficulties, pressures of life, and that has to do with maybe her mental health in an event where the mother is stressed. So she's overthinking, she's thinking a lot, maybe uh, pressures of life and other things that might be troubling her, and that maybe has caused depression and everything that has to do with mental health. So it has tempered with the mental health, and then she's stressed. So the stress has a negative impact on the health and safety of the baby.
Yes, thank you so much. John, you are touching on some amazing questions. And this is very important for moms to know that if they are feeling depressed, sad, they are dealing with crisis, difficult time in their lives, they they are 100% having an influence on their babies because the little baby is part of the mom. So if mom feels sad, baby is also sad. If mom feels like, helpless and hopeless, baby also inside is feeling the same way and is being programmed. And so we say, okay, doesn't matter if it's being it does matter. It does matter because this little baby is not going to behave like other normal kids because this baby is fighting with those emotions in the background. They are influencing and affecting the little baby in all now it becomes a child. They are influencing the child in all areas of his or her life. And even as the child grows up into adulthood, these things have an impact because hypnotherapists who have hypnotized people during adulthood, taken them back to where this problem arose, they have taken them back to pregnancy when they were pregnant in their mom's womb. And then they asked them, okay, what was going on in your mom's life at this time? And so then they described, oh, there was a breakup, or there was a famine, or there was a whatever, issue was going on in mom's life at that time, which impacted the baby and it led to the problem sometimes years later. So this is very, very important. So now let's get to the question, like she's suffering. She's really like, maybe she's trying to handle, maybe she's successful, maybe she's not. But these are not commonly known, but there are ways of how to help her to get to a relaxed, peaceful, happy space in spite of what is going on around her. And that is what I basically specialize in. So that's what I can talk about, that there is help available. So never think that this is like, oh, she's suffering so much and nobody can help and nobody can do anything. There is help available. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you
okay.
for
No, that's nice. That's nice. Thank you very much. Now we also hear of situations where uh, maybe the mother is reading books. I'm told there is a communication between the mother and the child. Uh, is that true? Like
Yes,
where they are reading books for the child and the child is getting so for me I was thinking maybe they are just stories or what now since we have a professor in this, can you please help me?
yes,
Is
yes.
that true?
Oh my gosh. I am so amazed by your questions. They are absolutely top questions. So let me tell you, answering your question, the type of books that the mom reads is so important. I like to say that if you want to influence your child's development, then that is the best time during pregnancy to do that. So say for example, you want your I'm just giving simple examples so you'll get the point. If you Einstein once said that if you want somebody said, how do you get your baby to be smart? So he said, read books. And then they said, how do you get your baby to be more smart, even more smart? Then he said, you read them more fairy tales, fairy tales, which are like, because it stimulates the imagination. And so that creative,
Yes, yes, yes.
imaginative aspect for the child is starting to develop even during pregnancy. So the more books you read, the more your baby develops. And also, books is not just any books. You don't want to be reading, sad stories or tragic stories. You want to be reading something that is fun, loving, imaginative. Those are the type of books you want to be reading. Now, some people do those Sudoku, so crossword puzzles. Those help a lot. Some people just do, they just do little mathematical equations, simple ones. They just keep doing that all the time. That's good for baby developing babies, mathematical abilities, because for baby that's high knowledge. When baby is still at the growing stage, baby is getting this high class knowledge. So whatever you do during pregnancy, I mean, the mom does, is having a direct impact on the baby's development.
Okay, okay, that's great. Now,
Yes.
now, can you please talk to us as men? Like, let's say, how can we contribute to that? Like, do we have a positive impact, a negative impact, or how do we contribute to a safe
Yes,
pregnancy and healthy delivery of the child?
for the dads, you're
Yes,
talking about how can the dads impact, right? Is that the question?
yes, yes, yes,
Mhm.
yes. The dad's impact.
So let me tell you an indirect way and a direct way. So indirect way is keep the mom happy, right? Because if mom is happy, baby's going to be happy. So that's the indirect way. And the direct way is actually talking to baby, just putting your hand on mom's tummy and talking to baby, because with your hand you are transmitting the emotion. And if you put your hand on mom's tummy and you tell the baby how much you love the baby, how much you value the baby, how you're looking forward to the baby's arrival, and how you're going to be the best dad ever, and how baby is going to have the best time in their lives because you are going to be there all the time. Yes, talk to your baby. Very good, Jasmine. Talk to your baby. And so all that is going to communicate. You can say telepathically, you can say through touch, because there are certain cultures that value they know the importance of touch, because through touch you can convey a lot of things. Emotions are basically transmitted through touch. Like the type of touch you have, it impacts the baby, and baby feels safe and happy and loved and cared for, and that really helps with the development and the
Wow.
communication. After baby is born, baby will recognize your voice, baby will look at you and smile, because baby already knows you, right? You're not a stranger to baby.
Okay, okay, okay. That's great.
That's
So now,
fantastic.
now,
Hello,
so
John.
so now, yes. Now, Prof. In an event that, yeah, that's very great. Thank you very much for all your answers. I'm learning. I'm now feeling like a father right now. So now,
Hmm.
uh, uh how do
Yeah.
you handle because when women are pregnant, actually, most of the
Hmm.
times the hormones that come along with the pregnancy, the load that are stimulated,
Yeah.
and such yes, yes, so such hormones, uh for example, they come with they are those ones that actually
Yes.
they stimulate other hormones that deals with anger issues. Sometimes if someone is hot tempered, then
Hmm.
that one will be more like put to the test. So now imagine you are a father and your wife now she's maybe stressing you. So how can you handle that? And you're also trying to protect the safety of the child so that in the house the baby will not be able to detect the noise in there. I don't know if you've gotten my point. Like you you
Yes, I
you
totally
want.
get what you're saying, and I can answer that very well. So
Yes,
I know
yes.
sometimes you don't have that feeling and that emotion, and it's really hard to get to the dad's place. I would strongly recommend look around you. There are plenty of dads around, right? So when you look at the dads, just see how they behave with the children, how the children look up to their dads. You know, that'll get you the feeling, oh, my child is also going, I've got to do this for my child, right? And you will see two things. Some things you won't like, you'll say, oh my gosh, that poor child, look at how the father is talking to the child. Or and you might see other situations where, oh my gosh, that is so much love, the little one really adores the dad, and look how he's behaving with the dad, look how the dad's behaving with him. When you observe that, you will automatically get into that feeling space, and that's the feeling space which will help you to communicate with your baby. So that's the answer to your question.
Okay,
Thank you so
okay.
much,
No,
John,
thank
for
you very
all those
much.
questions. Thank you so much. I believe Platine has got a question in the comment section, so I'm just going to
Yeah,
bring
I
that
saw that
slide to
too.
John.
I was
Sorry,
wondering because I did
sorry, go on.
mention in the beginning, Jasmine, I did talk about true labor and false labor. So maybe
Okay,
Platine can go back to that segment because I
all right.
explained elaborately true labor and false labor, like what real labor looks like. And anything
Oh,
not that way is false labor.
all right. Okay, all right. Thank you. John, have you got any questions to ask before I move on to asking Gurjit some more questions?
Right now, no. But when as she explains, I'm writing, I'm taking notes, and I'll be able to have some questions. Maybe when she proceeds,
Okay,
where I'm not
all right.
clear. Yes,
Okay,
yes,
Father John. Thank you for your valuable
yes. The
questions.
new father. Yes.
Thank you. Gurjit, before I move on to the question, I just want to bring to, people's attention what you do. So if you're interested in Gurjit's prenatal program, feel free to, book a chat with her using calendly.com/joyous childbirth. It's scrolling across the screen right now. And also, if you've got any emotional concerns or you're going through emotional issues to do with, childbirth and pregnancy, feel free to reach out to her again, calendly.com/joyous childbirth. So, Gurjit, I'm just going to ask you about, the impact of mental health on bonding with a baby, as a mother. Can you speak to that, especially when it comes? Yeah, go on, Gurjit.
Yes. So
Yeah,
this is very important in the sense that if the mom is not in a good place, it's
yes.
hard because she's not even coping with anything. So the baby actually takes a back seat, which is not a good thing, right? Because baby does need all the love, caring, affection. But if the mom is mentally not in a position to even look after herself, to provide love and caring for herself, then giving that to the baby becomes impossible. So it's super important to maintain you know, I don't want to say, yeah, good mental health, or basically, if it boils down to be in a happy place most of the time during pregnancy, because things do come up, and you can't be happy all the time, but you can always bounce back, right? If you're down for a bit, then you can bounce back and get to that happy place again. But there are strategies and tools that can actually help you to bounce back. And that is super important for you to know. And most women don't know that. So they think, oh my gosh, this is on in my life. There's no way out. Everything looks so black and gloomy and dark, and there is no help for me. And, indirectly, baby suffers. So that is something very, very important. And I would like to, uh, everyone to know that. Uh, Look at the mom's mental health. 100% during pregnancy, because there's a life at stake.
That
So,
that's
anything
definitely.
else?
Oh, sorry, Gurjit. Yeah. I was just going to say, when it comes to, losing a baby, what are your thoughts on it? Because it can't be easy, losing a baby, and, the stigma and shame that's attached to, miscarriage and stillbirth is quite intense. Not people talk a lot about,
Yeah.
baby loss. Can you speak to that?
Yes. So one of the things that I mentioned earlier doing the kick count is one of the ways you can sort of prevent losing your baby. But once the loss the loss happens, then it's a whole new game, and there's a lot of blame, game, shame, going on, because it's not easy. So the mom might blame the dad, the mom might blame the in-laws, the mom might blame her job. It's whatever comes in front, it's easy to blame them. But let me tell you some few facts that will totally shift the way you think about and blaming anyone, right? So some of the miscarriages that happen when people lose babies, it could be a genetic problem with the baby, right? That baby is would not have survived anyways. And you'll say, why genetic? See, genetics is in nobody's hands. There could be certain traits, certain issues that may cause the miscarriage. Then certain infections may cause miscarriages, right? That too, you may not nobody knowingly invites infection, right? And you wouldn't say, oh, I want infection. No, nobody does that. It just happens. And unfortunately, the baby could get affected, and that you could lose the baby for that. Accidents happen, you name it. So there are so many reasons, and sometimes the cause is unknown. Nobody knows why the baby passed away. Sometimes it could be due to some problems with the placenta, with the blood supply. There are 101 reasons where the baby could be impacted and lose its life, right? So blaming anyone actually doesn't help. But there is a grieving process, and parents do go through that grieving process, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to miss. But and there's a period of time where no matter what anybody says or does, or comes and tries to calm you, that those emotions have to be released. They have to come out of your system. So it's okay to cry, to sit, to mourn your loss, and go through the grieving process. And after that, time is a big healer. So with the passage of time, slowly those emotions, they start to get less and less, and you come back in touch with reality. And that's sort of like a coping mechanism. And people do different things to cope. And you never forget these losses. You never forget losing a baby. But life has to go on. And so you do adjust.
Thank you for that, Gurjit. Also, I have the list of questions here about pre-eclampsia and eclampsia. I don't even know how to pronounce it properly. Eclampsia. Can you speak to that, please?
Yes, yes. This preeclampsia is actually a blood pressure issue that arises in some women during pregnancy. We touched upon it a little bit earlier when I said a woman could have blood pressure problems. And you say, oh, why did I get the blood pressure problem and not the other lady? No one knows. There is no answer. But some women, and it's only during pregnancy, right? Otherwise, their blood pressure would have been normal. But during pregnancy, their blood pressure starts to increase. And that we call gestational hypertension. And with the blood pressure increasing, if they start spilling protein in their urine, which is not normal, then we call it preeclampsia. So it's a more serious, like the blood pressure, etc., is higher. So it's more serious than the gestational hypertension. And it's serious because it can get worse very quickly. So from preeclampsia, she can quickly deteriorate, like in a matter of days. She can go to eclampsia. And eclampsia is when the blood pressure is so high that she starts getting convulsions and fits, like, the fits we know about. So she starts convulsing, and that can be really dangerous for the baby too. We could lose the baby, and of course, the mom also is in a very bad condition. She could have all the complications of high blood pressure. So, in case a woman has preeclampsia and is heading towards eclampsia, the doctors will recommend an immediate C section, because only after the baby comes down will the blood pressure come down. So, that is important to know, that that is an indication to get the baby out as quickly as possible, because there is no solution for that. So, meanwhile, the doctors will keep giving high blood pressure medications to get her blood pressure down, but that's not a long term strategy. The strategy that really works is get the baby out, because it's a pregnancy condition, preeclampsia, eclampsia, during pregnancy. So this is important to know, that you might not want the C-section, but then there is no other choice.
Well, thank you for that explanation. Yes. John, have you got any questions to ask about what Gurjit just touched upon?
Okay. I think I'm following very well, and I was very interested on how you explained the effects that and the impact that the loss of a child might actually bring on the mother. So that was very very sad, and you had explained it very well for everyone to understand. Now, does that affect, like, when a woman loses a child, does it have any impact on the next child or on the pregnancy of the next child for that same woman? How is it like? How is it?
So if a complication occurs once, it doesn't have to occur the next time. It may occur, may not. So that it doesn't mean if it's happened once, it'll happen again. But of course, there are chances. So doctors are always careful. If someone has a history of some problem, they keep an eye closely on that happening again.
Okay.
Okay. Then
Thank
I
you.
also have another question, but this one is mine. It's not connected to what she's from explaining.
Yeah, go
Okay, go
ahead.
on.
Can I? Okay. Yeah. So this one is, what if on the point where a couple, maybe before they get married, and they didn't test for their blood or genetic compatibility. That would
Mhm.
be the blood, the AB and O blood group. Then they were, how how does those blood groups actually affect the safety and protection of the baby? And if they do, what are the impact? Uh, if you connect the rhesus factors and everything, uh, maybe let's start from there. How does the Can
Yes,
you explain to me the blood group
yes, yes,
compatibility? Maybe
yes.
I
I will.
simplify it that way.
Yes. So generally, it there's not a huge impact. There are very rare cases where it might be an issue, but 99% of the time there is no issue. And let me explain when I say no issue. So the rhesus factor can either be positive or negative, right? So most of the time for the dads, it doesn't matter whether they are positive or negative. Nobody cares. But the issue can happen, may happen, not for the first baby. Generally, the first baby is fine. Even if the mom is negative, dad is positive, still the first baby is fine, generally, right? Because the baby, the a woman doesn't have any positive cells in her system before this baby. That is an assumption. But if she already had a positive blood transfusion, that can change the story. But generally, we are assuming that she didn't have a blood transfusion. There was no way any positive cells entered her system. So this first baby is safe, comes out hale and hearty. Now, what happens? Suppose this first baby was Rh negative, then there is no issue for the second baby, right? Because there is no immunization against the Rh positive. There's no Rh positive involved. Okay. Suppose this first baby was Rh positive, right? So if the first baby was Rh positive, then the mom's system gets some positive cells during the birth process, and she can start developing antibodies against that. And then when it's time for the second baby, we could lose the second baby because of those antibodies against the positive cells. So that's where the issue comes. But nowadays we don't have that issue because we give the RhoGAM injection, which destroys all the positive cells in the system of the mom. So when it's time for her second baby, her system is clear. So the second baby is also safe. Again, she gets the RhoGAM injection. Again, all the positive cells are killed or destroyed. Then the third baby is safe. So nowadays, this doesn't pose an issue at all. The Rh doesn't pose. Now, talking about the AB, and O incompatibility, that may cause an issue at times. So that is the one I want to mention, but that's not very common, but that may cause an issue at sometimes.
Okay. Hello?
Yes. And that
Okay.
may, even
Yeah.
it may cause some jaundice in the newborn, excessive jaundice, or it may cause a miscarriage. That those possibilities are there. But they are they're
Okay.
not frequent. They're very rare.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
And
Because I asked,
the
yeah.
for the for the for, for the AB for the A, B, AB, and O blood group, I think I'm okay. And for the rhesus factor, thank you very much for that professional explanation.
You're welcome.
Yes.
Thank, thank you so much for your contribution, John. And we will be ending the live very soon. But Gurjit, is there anything that you'd like to add to the conversation before we move ahead and before I speak about your prenatal program?
Yes, yes. So during pregnancy, there are many women, I see this all the time. They think that birth is a natural process, so there's nothing to do. But like so many things that we spoke about in today's call, it's not just about the physical preparation. It's also about the mental preparation, maintaining your peace, calm, and joy throughout pregnancy, dealing with your emotions, and, making sure that they're all in control, sort of, in a balanced state, and being joyful for baby's sake. So much you can do for the baby, just not the bonding, it's the baby's development that's at stake. So all these things, if you think they are happening automatically, yes, in a way they are, but if you know how to make them happen, that is the key. So all this, if you can know these important facets of preparation during pregnancy and make sure that you're doing the right things at the right time and influencing your baby during pregnancy, there is no price for that. Like, that is priceless. You're giving the best to your baby. And technically, everybody wants the best for the baby. There's nobody who says, oh, I don't want the best for my baby. But the question is, what are you doing to provide the best for your baby? I think I can leave it at that.
Thank you. Thank you for this insightful discussion, Professor G. Being in a good mental state can definitely, affect the course of your pregnancy. I know that for certain because, during my first pregnancy, I wish I'd taken more care of my mental state because it would have definitely helped in the way that I delivered. But all the same, I've learned. So the next one hopefully will not be the same. If anybody would like to reach out to Gurjit in terms of, preparing for your, pregnancy, she's got a program, a prenatal preparation program packed with lots of, insights and valuable tips that will help you along your pregnancy journey so you can deliver, safely and deliver a very healthy baby. You can contact her via Calendly, and it's calendly.com/joyous childbirth. You can also send her an email as well. Her email address will be scrolling across the screen somewhere along the lines here, but reach out to Gurjit's, contact her. It's info@joyouschildbirth.com. Reach out to her so that she can support you throughout your pregnancy. Or if you've got somebody who's pregnant, send this information to them. I'm sure they'll find it very useful. So before we go, I just want to acknowledge the people that joined us here. I appreciate all of you for spending your time with us. Selassie, thank you so much for joining us. Esume, thank you so much. John, thank you so much for the wonderful contributions and questions that you've asked during this discussion. It's made it more valuable and insightful. Thank you so much. Lowe's P. Pipers, sorry if I've pronounced your name incorrectly. Thank you, Sam Hall, for joining us as well. Lisa Fevek, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate all of you. Platin Moinya, thank you as well, and for the questions that you asked. We will be back next 2 weeks, so feel free to join us on the next live. I look forward to seeing you soon, and I hope you all take care. I wish you all the best, and we are going now. Everybody, do you want to say bye to the audience before we leave, Gurjit and John?
Yes, bye everyone, and thank you for listening. I so welcome your questions, and it's such a pleasure to answer them. And once you get the answers, then I'm sure you'll feel so much better, and that gives me joy.
Oh,
Th-
fantastic, fantastic.
Thank you
Thank
very much. Thank you very much, Prof, for that wonderful presentation. And I've learned that as a man in the future, or as a father in the future, I will be involved. I should be involved in the pregnancy of my wife. And I should be saying, when someone asks me if my wife is pregnant, I'll be saying, we are pregnant, not
Yes.
she is pregnant, because we are
you.
involved in that. We are both pregnant.
Yes. Yes.
So that was wonderful. Thank you very much. It has changed
Thank
the
you.
perspective that we have
You
as
know,
men.
I love what John said, so I'll just take a minute to say something. Some
Yes,
men
yes.
during pregnancy, their tummy also becomes bigger and bigger, and so they are sort of mimicking what's going on with their wife, because the wife's tummy is enlarging, and they obviously they might be eating more, or I don't know how their tummies get big, but that's the COVID syndrome, and that's how the dads are sort of, so it looks like, yes, this is a pregnant couple, both of them with their tummies, that way, and that's really funny too.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely. It's interesting, isn't it? How things can affect both couples when they're going through things. Thank you so much, Gurjit, again for the information that you've delivered, and we look forward to our next discussion. So take care, everybody. Have a good night, good evening, or a good day wherever you find yourself, and we wish you all the best. Bye bye.